What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Creature Cast, the official Console Creatures podcast. I'm your host today, Steve Vegvar, and alongside me, as always, my good pal Bobby. How are you this week?
We are peachy, winding down fall. Actually, no, wait, what am I saying?
Winding up.
Winding up fall. Man,
Mhm.
I'm ready for fall to be over because I just want some spring. Spring's my season.
Okay, all
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
I'm a fall boy, but I
I,
get.
I do okay. I do like fall. I'm not against it, but like I said earlier, I'm not ready for the jackets. So I think I'm just gearing up to get ready for no jackets already.
Sure. Yeah. It's quite daunting. We are in spooky season now. It's all Halloween. We're going to be talking about a spooky game as well. But no, I'm glad you're doing well. I know it's getting a little chilly out there, but hope everyone out there is doing well. There's some hurricanes going on as well. Hope everyone listening to us in Florida is doing well, so keeping safe.
Mm-hmm.
Scary stuff out there.
I mean, naming it Milton's just kind of like a little bit on the nose because it's kind of close to Millhouse, and we all know how we feel about
Well,
Millhouse. So
everything's coming up Millhouse, so
that's true.
hopefully everything comes up Milton as well.
Yeah, let's hope he doesn't cause too much damage.
I hope not. I hope it's just a little brisk rain, but yeah, hopefully everyone out there is safe and sound. But we'll be here talking about some video games, keeping you guys occupied. I know there's a game that we've both been playing, but there's a game I'm very interested in beforehand. I want you to talk about Metaphor ReFantazio. Am I correct there?
Metaphor ReFantazio
Fantasio. Cool.
ReFantazio.
Yeah, please tell me all about this because it feels like, even though I'm not
New
huge
thing.
into JRPGs, it feels like a game I have to play just because of how resounding the acclaim has been this week. Yeah, tell me about it.
So I'll be upfront about it. I'm not fully done the game. I'm about halfway through, but that's fine. Matt covered the game for Console Creatures. His reviews live, but
And when you say halfway, I mean,
about like
from what I've heard, that's like 40 hours, right?
About 40 hours, yeah.
Yeah.
But it feels like, so let's start with this. It's the evolution of the Persona series. It is definitely the amalgamation of Persona, Shin Megami Tensei, and they basically took all the lessons they've learned with those two games and threw it into this new world, and you get Metaphor ReFantazio. So, I mean, depending on what your series history is, if you've played the Persona games or the Shin Megami, there's both of them here. So you'll get it leans towards the Shin Megami combat. So if you like the press turn system, which basically, it penalizes the enemy for having weaknesses, and it gives you bonuses, like bonus rounds if you attack their weaknesses, and basically it's all about finding the right balance between elemental attacks or strikes like that. So it is through and through a JRPG. If you don't like that, then like that's probably the first thing I can tell you. But in a weird twist, like they added some action RPG elements. So gone there, the Japanese high school hallways, you're not in Tokyo anymore, and you're in this unique I don't know how to describe this. This world is just very poverty stricken. It's not a utopia. It's basically on the brink of the apocalypse, and everything's about to go wrong. And what you're basically doing is your party is trying to save a cursed prince from this curse that he's struck with. Like his father just died. The whole kingdom that you're from is basically on the fritz. People are starving in the streets. It's a very political game. So that's another thing. I don't know if you are listening and you think it is a woke game. We're going to start with that. It is a very woke game. So like there's a lot of,
suck it grifters.
Yeah, suck it grifters. It is a very like modern game in that sense where, it deals with exploitations and a lot of inequality because your main character, he's from a tribe that people do not like, and every time they see him, they basically spit on him and like they call him names, and he's unwanted. But his duty is basically save the prince, because the prince is the only one that can restore balance, because the king has essentially launched the apocalypse. His magic, and I'm sure if you play the demo, you'll see what I'm talking about. His death unleashes this spell that sends like this massive figure into the sky saying like, if you don't stop this, the world's going to end. Mm-hmm. And it just kind of leads through that. So you kind of just go through this world, and I can't really get into it. Like the problem with this game is to get into it, you're gonna get all the spoilers, but
Okay.
it is through and through a Persona game. It's just more refined. It's a lot more tight. The narrative is a lot better. The localization is better. I actually mentioned this on Twitter. It
Hmm.
not as bad as Persona 5. It's actually a really well paced story. The characters are incredible. Like everyone that you meet in this game has a backstory. Like they have personality. They have, their own motives. They have things that they're striving to stop and, whatever they want to do. And it's everything's brilliantly placed together. Like it feels like a finely crafted sculpture. Like everything that you see has a purpose. So whether it's the people that you meet or the places that you go or the dungeons that you experience, they all have a purpose and you're there for something. You're there to either grab something that you need to, become more popular because you need to become more popular to stop the curse. And
Right.
it's like any other JRPG I played in the last like 5 to 6 years. It is unbelievable. Like I think that's the best way I can put it. It's really unbelievable. It's not something I actually thought was going to be as good as it was. I expected more Persona,
Sure.
and you can obviously see that if you see a demo or you play the demo or whatever. If you see it, there's through and through. It is Persona. It's just so refined that it feels so different. And if you like all the social elements, if you like the calendar system, like that's all there. It's just like I said, more refined. Like you have more time to do things, so you don't really have to worry about losing out on something because you decide to go to a dungeon because you can only go to the dungeons during the day. At night, you're in the town, you're socializing,
Okay.
trying to gain popularity. But it a lot of people are always concerned because Persona games you have to if you miss one thing you have to play the entire game again. But this one like
Yeah.
it really balances everything. Like you have enough time to level up. You have enough time to go to the dungeon. You have enough time to strengthen your bonds with everybody, and it's like really really unique in that sense that everything, like I said, everything works in favor of the story. So it's not just like timid side quests. It's not something like go fetch this. It's something you want to do. So like they're all optional dungeons and stuff. Like they're not as good. They're like the mementos in Persona. If you played Persona 5 Steep, but mementos were just like miniature dungeons that you go in, grab your stuff, and you leave. But
Okay.
that's what this is. It's just it's better implemented. And I don't know if you have any questions. Like I'm happy to answer. Like I said, I'm only halfway. Like I feel like I kind of know where the story's going, but at the same time, like it's building in a way that it could be unexpected. So I
Mm.
mean, we can follow up with Matt whenever if he ever wants to come on and talk about it. But like
Yeah.
from what I've played, like it's really good. Like if you've never played any Atlas game or if you dabbled, those games are probably not for you. This is the one I would recommend because it has part turn based. It's got part action combat, so you get a mix of both. And it works in favor of respecting your time because the stronger you get, you don't have to worry about entering battle. You just swipe at them on the screen, get your experience, and you just keep moving.
See, that speaks so much to me because that's exactly what I want out of a JRPG is just keep that momentum going, keep it quick, keep it fast and frenetic. But
It's
yeah,
the
no,
flexibility.
I've
It's flexible.
sadly never really put a lot of time into any kind of Persona game or any kind of Atlas game to begin with. So as soon as I started seeing the outpour of
Yeah.
love and positive criticism for a metaphor, I was like, okay, one, do I play the demo and kind of just see it for myself before investing
Yeah.
heavily into this game? And two, then I'm like, do I hold off until like the end of the year, maybe like over the holidays and kind of just heavy invest into this game? I really don't know. Because
I
right
mean,
now it's like I'm looking at my own calendar of games I want to play and
yeah.
putting in like 80 hours into a game. I'm like, that's just not gonna happen.
That's the thing. So like I know that the average is about 80 hours. Matt cleared in about 65, I think he
Okay.
told me. So like I know it's still a heavy investment, but I mean it's paced well enough that you don't need to worry about jumping into, side quests. You can basically kind
Mm,
of golden critical path it. So I mean it is something to do. I mean, I would say play the demo if you're on the fence. I don't think the demo is a good serving of it because like it does give you a nice portion, but I mean where it cuts off, I feel is like where it really picks up for me. And that's where it kind of
got
clicked
it.
for me. So I mean,
Yeah,
That's the
because
kind of
I was gonna ask as well whether or not now that you've played a lot of the
yeah.
game, if whether or not that demo is like a good representation of what you're gonna get in the full game, or if it really does
It
the full
is.
experience justice for
It
new
is, but
players.
then you get more with the full, obviously the full game, and that's kind of where or demos have always been alright. They entice you to check out the full game, but I mean, I would recommend you playing it, and I don't say this, with any jests. If you are someone who doesn't want to play on normal, put it on story mode. Put it on, just blaze through it. Like it is worth to experience it. From what
Okay.
I've experienced so far, you could probably clear it in half the time. The only thing you have to remind is like it is a JRPG, so your stats matter. The way you approach a fight does matter. So like if you go in and just start attacking everything, you're gonna be wiped out pretty quickly. You have to pay attention to elementals. You have to pay attention to like they have tell signs bosses. So when you're fighting, like they will gear up to fight you, and, punish you at that point. So like
Mhm.
there are attacks that they have to count down to, and there is a little bit of strategy to it. Like that's the kind of thing where I feel like kind of separates stuff from Persona. Like you have two rows of characters, so like you have three characters, and they can either be in the front row or in the back row. And if you put them in the back, those are for obviously your mage characters. But I mean, there are enemies who can strike both rows. So you kind of have to know where you want to place your characters. So if you have like a mage, obviously you set in the back. If you have a knight, you want them in the front,
Right.
taking all tanking basically. So it's got all these elements from a bunch of games that they combined, and it's just like it's so perfectly executed. It's such a unique game. Like, and that's like where I feel like it is. Like Persona, you kind of know what you're getting. Like you're a high school student, you're doing X, Y, and Z throughout the day. You're in school. At night, you go out. It's a typical kind of game. And then this, why I think it connects with so many people, is it's just so fantastical. It's like this world where everything's in chaos right now. You're dealing with wars. You're dealing with all these modern issues that we're facing, like poverty and
Right.
inequality. And like we said, it's a woke game, so like it's obviously dealing with all these issues that we're dealing with today. And it shows that Atlas has grown as a developer throughout the years. Like they've stumbled in the previous couple of games where the stories they told, the message was middled, or like
Okay.
it wasn't delivered properly. Like there were a lot of jests and jokes towards like LGBTQ, and like they were
Mm,
making fun of communities. But like this one here, like they nailed it. Like the tone is amazing. Like everything just shows that they listen to their community, their fans, and delivered a story that is above and beyond the best thing they've done so far.
no, that's great, and, I'm gonna be very interested to hear from people like you and Matt and other people who are really heavily invested in Atlas games coming out over Metaphor and letting it, digest for a little bit and then hearing what they think
Yeah,
about, whether or not this is a better game than, Persona 5, it's Royale, right? That's the
yeah, that's
extent.
like
Yeah.
the expanded edition, and
Yeah.
that's kind of where I feel. So the thing is with Atlas, like they always do this thing where they launch the base game, and
Right.
then maybe 2 years later, they
Yep.
launch like the director's cut, and then people get upset because it's all stuff like they want it from the first time, and
Right.
then there's no way to upgrade to it. You have to buy the game again.
Of
It's
course.
there's no way to do it. But if that happens with this game, I honestly don't know what else they could do. From what I'm seeing so far, it feels like it feels complete. I mean, I'm not thinking about like, hey, I wonder what these characters are doing this time. Like you have enough time with every character to kind of understand where they came from, where they are, and where they're gonna go. So it's like I don't see any DLC outside of like maybe costumes or whatever they want to do. But I'll confirm with Matt maybe just after the show if he feels like there's any DLC necessary. But like I'm gearing towards it. I don't think it's going to be like an expanded version. I think this is like a one and done for them,
Sure.
which I hope so, because like that would break a curse for them, because that's what Atlas fans are very annoyed with Atlas. It's just that expanded copy years down the line.
Mhm.
But yeah, I urge you to play it. Like honestly, if you play any JRPG, like you can skip the Yakuza games. Like those are great. Obviously, they're very renowned now, but play this one. If you have to play any JRPG, if you're curious, it's this one. It's a game that'll stick with you. I can see people online. I'm seeing all the people that reviewed it. Like it's all they're talking about. The music's incredible. You have that to look forward to. You have all the elements of Atlas jacked to like a 12. It's not
Mhm.
even just like they're just simmering. Like they raised it to the top. Like this is like infinitely like their best game so far.
No, that's great. I'm stoked for you. I'm stoked for fans because it really is a genuine delight for me, even on someone from the outside that
Yeah.
sees, hey, this is a great game of the year contender that just kind of entered the arena now, um, and kind of
It's
stole the spotlight from a lot of other games, and that's very cool. It's a cool little celebration.
it's exactly what it is, and it kind of just proves to the larger audience that JRPGs with the turn-based system are not dead. Like there is still, a market for them. Expedition 33 is another game which I feel is taking the formula and doing something unique with it. So look to Atlas, look to I think it's Focus that's doing Expedition 33. But like those are the companies who I feel like understand that the genre is not dead. It was stagnant for a bit. So like it's good to see people moving away from action based combat and just sticking with tried and true turn based. Like it
Right.
works in the right hands. Like it is as exciting as playing an action RPG.
Sure. No, that's great. Again, very excited to hear more of your thoughts as you get closer to the finish line and get over the finish line as well in the future. Because yeah, I'll be interested to hear how you think about it, like
Yeah,
when you hit credits and stuff like that. Because seems like it's a really solid game for fans of the genre.
yeah, and definitely like honestly, it comes at a good time. I know with it's prime time for the gaming industry right now.
Oh
This
yeah,
is basically when there's so many games coming out, and I'm like juggling like three or four myself. But like, it is a game that I was like, well, I'm when I get home, I want to play it. Like, it's something I was thinking about when I'm out, working or whatever.
yeah,
It is a I did put priority on this game because it's just so good for what it is, and like it's just it's refreshing to have something this good. You know, at the beginning of the month, like we still have like another at least 4 weeks of good releases coming out. We still have like Dragon Age. We still have Sonic Shadow. We still have a lot of big games coming out that are, I feel are still Game of the Year contenders. And I'm
sure.
talking about Dragon Age, right? I mean, because like we know it's
Well, here's
potential.
hoping.
Here's hoping, right? But like
Yeah.
there's still big games coming out, so it's like, yeah, like you have time to just enjoy the big ones right now.
Totally. Yep. Yep. Well, I last week you weren't here, but me and Dave got together. We talked about Diablo for quite a while, about an hour. People can go check out that full review. I've gone back in ever since. Now that the launch officially happened, I went back in just to kind of re redo the campaign with a new
Yeah,
with my character now, because progress never carried over into the full game. Start the seasonal content as well. Unfortunately, the launch didn't go exactly as planned. It was supposed to go up Monday at 7 a.m. or 7 p.m. Eastern. And then, yeah, I guess they Blizzard ran into some sort of delay, some sort of technical issue launching it. So it didn't go up until Tuesday. So at this point, as we were recording, I've only put in a couple hours into the full new launch, season 6. But again, I just want to reiterate, this is a great opportunity for either new players to get in and get like a very robust package of the game, or if you play the game at launch and you're like, I played the story, maybe played a season or two. This game feels incredibly different ever since Loot Reborn, the 4th season. They've really kind of elevated and improved the progression system and the loot system. Everything just feels so good. And then season 6, Vessel of with the Vessel of Hatred expansion, this game just feels like a brand new game. Honestly, it feels so damn good. So yeah, I just
yeah.
wanted to point that out there. Have you been putting any time into it?
Outside of the review period, no.
Yeah,
I had the same amount of time Dave did. I think I spent about 10 to 12 hours playing it, but priority kind of just jumped because Dave was handling the review, so I had
yeah,
time to switch over to Metaphor and a couple other things. But I mean, from what I played, like I do like the new class. I actually love it way more than the Barbarian. That's where I kind of always go as the
okay,
Barbarian. I like it more than a Necromancer so far. I've only played about 3 classes, but like this is by far my most favorite. I'm looking forward to kind of getting to the builds and the end game because like I feel like I from just Dave's review, like he loved the story, he loved
yeah.
all the new seasonal change and all that. So like I'm down for whatever's coming. I'm gonna find a way to make this game into my rotation because it is as good as I was hoped to be. I mean, I dropped off pretty quickly after the first, I think I did the first two campaign runs with my two classes, and then I did a couple of
Right.
the seasons, but then I stopped playing just before Loot Reborn came. So that's where I kind of dropped off. But I'm down to play it. I'm definitely looking forward to like teaming up and just, seeing how it plays with three people.
Yeah. 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 No, it's a lot of fun. So hopefully I'm gonna be playing all season. So hit me up anytime,
Yeah.
as well as
Yeah.
people listening, because I'm locked and loaded for this. It feels so good that yeah, I just want to consistently put in time and get my spirit
Yep.
born up there. Because yeah, I'm having a lot of fun with the new class. Shockingly, because I was very skeptical about it at first. Because like
Yeah,
you,
me too.
I'm a
Me too.
barbarian. I'm a necromancer guy. So I was like, I don't know. I don't know about this guy. I just don't really know how to put my finger on him. And yeah, once you start understanding conceptually what Blizzard has been trying to like cultivate with this character in this class, I'm like, oh, okay, now I'm really understanding.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm just proud of what they were able to do. I know people were really sour on the base game, but like compared to last June to now, I feel like you said it is a brand new game. Like I feel like lots of good feedback, and we're finally getting a game that's as good as Diablo 2.
Yep. No, exactly. And that's kind of the benchmark, right?
It's
Is
Diablo 2,
Diablo
right?
2, right? Yeah.
But overall, yeah, like I'm glad this game exists and as it is. Like I'm really happy, and yeah, looking forward to seeing how the seasons play out. Like I feel like I'll be on Christmas break in about a month, so like or whatever,
Nice.
and then I'm gonna basically just do as many campaign runs as I can and just get as much loot as I can and just enjoy it.
Amazing. Amazing.
Yeah.
And then of course there is Until Dawn Remake. We've both
Yep.
been playing it. First off, what's your history with Until Dawn? Do you have a rich history with it? Is this a game
Mm,
that you really played and invested time in back 9 years ago now,
I
2015,
I
surprisingly?
would say yeah. You know what? I'll say yeah. I did.
Yeah.
It was really big in 2015. Like I remember
Mhm.
how like special that game launch was because like we at the time like I actually was the one I reviewed it then. I reviewed it now. So like yeah, I mean I do have that history with it.
Yeah.
I loved Until Dawn in 2015. I was so ecstatic that it existed and what it was. I love the cast. I love the whole backstory. Like I love the lore that was brought forth. Like I love the monster that they used just because like if you're a supernatural fan, you know the way this monster specifically. I don't want to spoil
Yep.
it, but like
Yeah,
it
yeah.
had a really great episode, right? Like it was a really good episode of the show, and the lore is really brutal. Like learning about what this thing is and like why it's there and how it happens. It's like yeah, I I was all for it. Like it was a really personal story, just because like you actually do bond with these characters. I feel like in the original at least, like I felt more bonded to them than I do in the remake, but
Oh, interesting.
the
Okay.
performances were insane just because like the performances were so good for the time. Like you had a really high caliber cast. Like you have Rami
Mhm.
Malek, Hayden Panettiere, you have I think his name Brett Dawson. Brett
Dalton.
he
Brett
Dalton.
Dalton. Yep.
I love Brett Dalton. Sorry, Brett. And you had Nicole Sakura, who, if you watch Superstore, she's probably one of the
Mhm.
funniest characters on the show. Like
Yeah.
they had a great cast. So
Jordan Fisher, Peter Stormare.
Peter
Like
Stormare, like Doctor Hill, like he's such an iconic character for the series. And
yep.
yeah, overall, I do have my history. Like I do feel like when this remake was launched, I was like, huh, okay. I don't know if I'm gonna enjoy it, but like if you feel like this is something that people want, I'm all for it. So I approached it with a cautious, optimistic outlook. So
Yep.
here we are now, and I don't know how you feel. Like, let's start with that before we start talking about it, because like I know you're playing. I saw you playing it last night.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, so I 95% done. Like I'm on the final chapter. I've played it back in 2015 a couple times at this point. So really it was just kind of a chance to kind of see some of the cosmetic differences. Obviously, now that it's rebuilt on Unreal Engine 5, I know that are some noticeable changes in terms of the way that certain scenes are kind of shot
Yeah,
because it's a very cinematic game. So they were able to kind of recontextualize some scenes without inherently rebuilding them because yeah, you have a star-studded cast in this, and not too many, like, no one really came back for it. They're not redoing a whole bunch. They're just remaking it on this new engine. So for me, it was just kind of refamiliarizing myself with the story, the atmosphere, kind of seeing what Ballistic Moon took from Supermassive Games and kind of ran with. Because from my understanding, that they really wanted to do this. This was a passion project for them. Of let's go back in, let's retool this game, and let's bring it to modern consoles with a fresh coat of paint. And it also doesn't help that PlayStation is making, or like there's an Until Dawn movie coming out. I think it just wrapped production, so it
Yep.
really does align for same sort of thing with The Last of Us. Bring it, bring this like really robust, the best package, the best way to play to PlayStation 5. That way, new fans and old fans can kind of just get around the hype cycle between this and the movie and everything. So yeah, for me, it wasn't so much as like experience it for the first time. It was
Yeah.
familiarizing myself with it.
Going back,
Um,
going back to it. Yeah.
exactly, and yeah, no, there's a lot to really like about this. I think that
Yeah.
the story is so well crafted, it's cinematic. I think the acting, for the most part, is really good. I think the dialogue is cheesy, but kind of in a tongue in cheek. Hey, we're playing off like 80s slasher movies like Friday the 13th or Evil Dead and stuff like that. Like there are definitely homages to that, and some of it comes across as like really cheesy, where I'm just like rolling my eyes as some of the dialogue these characters are saying. But that being said, I think it nails the atmosphere. I think this remake really does elevate the atmosphere, whether or not, like, the lights coming through the trees or through the shutters of the house and or the lodge and everything. Music is amazing. For me, the only thing that really kind of pulls this down is the performance on PlayStation 5 for me. I don't
Yeah.
know if you've experienced similar things,
Yeah.
but for a
Yeah.
game that's supposed to be so cinematic, so immersive, you're looking at these characters as if there's like you're looking at the actors themselves. Like it
More
is Rami
realistic.
Malek on the screen. It is Peter Stormare and stuff like that. But then all of a sudden, I'm running into like weird frame rate issues where it's just dropping down to like 15 frames at some points. There's also for me, and I'm curious to know if you've noticed this too. There's this weird like facial animation thing where I don't know if it's
The
because they
mouth
brought
movement.
the mouth movements where it's like all of a sudden they're like grinning ear to ear, and it's not it's not a funny scenario at all. They're like supposed to be tense or something, but
Yeah.
they have like this like very like mouthy,
Yeah. It
teethy
doesn't fit the
expression
scene.
on.
It doesn't fit the scene. And I know exactly what you're talking about
Yeah.
because, like, yeah, I noticed it right away. So, just for those listening in, like, Until Dawn 2015 was at 60 frames. It had, you know, fixed camera angles to
Yes.
emulate, older games, whereas just like the point of a fixed angle camera is it's to build tension, and like that's kind of why you can't look around, you can't see what's going on around you, and that's why that game excelled so well. It had specific conditions to really get you into the mood of this world and this situation. 2024 removes mostly removes the camera angle, so now you
I
have
think so, yeah.
yeah, there are still fixed angles. It's just not as noticeable anymore. There's a lot less of the situation.
There's less of them, and every time that they pop up, it's very grating because for 80% of the game, it's all free flowing. It's a lot more dynamic, and then you get into these like lock positions where the camera is
Yeah,
really low on the character, and it just feels very strange.
it
I
takes
run
you
into
out of
like it takes me out of it, and I kind of run into the same like Resident Evil like
yeah,
tank controls where I'm like I'm trying to go one way, but because the camera angle's down to their
yeah.
left, I'm like running into a wall and stuff like that. It's
And,
strange.
and that's the thing. I feel like they're trying to emulate Resident Evil, and I even said that. Like it feels like they're trying to turn this into Resident Evil when it's clearly not. There shouldn't be a camera where you can where you can freely move it about when you're basically all your interactions are press a button at this point,
Mhm. Yep.
or just run, because that's all you can do is you can either run or press buttons, and they even remove that because now you can't even run anymore. It's the character automatically runs now, and it's just like small changes like that. And going back to what you're saying about the mouth movements, if you look at any of the comparison videos on Twitter or Reddit or whatever, like you see people showing clips of Rami in 2015 and 2024, and I just feel like it feels like Ballistic just couldn't grasp Unreal Engine to the point where they could get the mouth movements down, or because they're using existing tech to import everything into this new engine. I feel that's what kind of caused
I
that
do
issue.
too, to be honest, yeah.
because they went from, I think it was Decima. They went from Decima, and I don't know why they went from Decima to Unreal, because Decima is powerful. Like, it
Very.
is really good. But yeah, that I feel like that kind of handicapped them in that sense, because Unreal Engine 5, as great as it is, there's a lot of problems with it, in the sense that developers have still not grasped how to properly utilize it. And Immortals, what is it? Immortals Avium.
Hmm.
That was the same issue. Like, they had Unreal 5, but it just wasn't implemented well, and and you could tell in the world, like, as great as it looked, the performance was impacted, and that's what's
Yeah.
happening here. So yeah, overall, like, it is through and through the same game. They just brought the warts over, and then the warts somehow shifted to different plates. So that's what kind of happened here. But I mean, to Ballistics, credit, they did do a good job with. I do think that overall it does look better. Obviously, it does look better. That's something I'm not going to deny. But when it does look bad, it does look bad. So, like, I feel like it's uneven in that sense. Like, there are moments where it looks fantastic, but then you get sections later on in the mines where it's like, oh, this is pretty bad. So yeah, I don't know. It feels like it's underbaked as a remake. Like, I feel like I would have rather had a remaster of the original. Like, I don't even think this remake was necessary.
That's the whole thing, is that it is very undeniable. I know a lot of people that it's all conjecture of them saying, well, Until Dawn still looks really great and everything, and I'm seeing these side by side comparisons, and to me, the game Until Dawn Remake is what I think of the original remake. When I close my eyes and I'm thinking back to 2015, that this is the way it kind of looks in my head. But then you see the side by side comparisons,
Yeah,
and clearly one looks a little more dated. One clearly doesn't have the greatest shadows, the greatest, you know, light refractions through leaves and stuff like that. So from that perspective, I am happy that, we do have this elevated version that's available on PlayStation 5 and everything, and PC as well. I think that's a big one as well, expanding the access to the game. But
yeah,
yeah, no, it is, in my opinion, very tough when you do have a game that's firing on all cylinders in terms of the atmosphere, the audio mixing, the score, and everything. And then yeah, once you get into the game of it all, the game just kind of suffers because its
yeah.
use of
That's a
Unreal
good way to
Engine
put it.
5. And I don't know what the bottlenecks are for Ballistic Moons is a smaller team. So for a smaller team to approach this still relatively new engine and kind of bring over all these assets, try to retool them. I'm not a developer. I have no idea what they're going through, but from a consumer level, it does stand out that, hey, you guys didn't have a full grasp of how to do this, or maybe, and again, this would, I mean, you really couldn't, but I wonder if at a certain point this was just kind of, let's get this out of the door. Let's set this up for maybe another spin-off, something like that, because now that the movie's coming out, it really does put the precedence of, like, we got to bring this back. Because for those that don't remember, when Until Dawn came out, it was spin-off and sequel season. I mean, you had The Inpatient, the prequel game, you had Rush of Blood, for VR and everything, and like Until Dawn felt like a franchise that was expanding and
Yeah,
evolving, and then
it
Supermassive kind of
was.
just moved on. But now that the movie's coming out, I feel like maybe PlayStation's like, well, let's revisit this. How are we going to tap this? Maybe this is kind of Ballistic Moon's attempt to just set the foundation, kind of get their feel for it and everything. And maybe in the future, they'll be the one to do like an Until Dawn 2, an Impatient 2. I'm
Yeah,
not sure, but maybe building a game from the ground up is going to be way more better for them versus having to work with all these, 9-year-old assets and stuff like that.
yeah. I feel like that's the thing. Like, they were selected to make this remake. Maybe it wasn't the project they wanted, but they took it just to make a name for themselves. That's what I kind of feel. I mean, obviously that's what I'm thinking, but I could be wrong. But for a first attempt, or whatever you want to call this, like, I feel like it is good. It's just the original was so good that I mean, it feels like any way you approach this, it was doomed from the start to me. 'Cause, like, there's really nothing I could think of that could make this game better than it was. Um, they actually ruined a couple of things I really didn't like, and I
What's
know
that?
that
I'd love to hear.
the totems. I hate the totems, what they did to them, because before, you would find it and it would just, work. But now, I don't know if you noticed it, the totems, you have to pick them up, you have to find them because they're new places, and then once you get them, there's like a little puzzle you have to do to
Yeah,
solve them.
yeah.
And I'm like, why? What is the point of that? Like, it actually just breaks the pacing more, because before it was, like I said, you just found it, it gave you the premonition, and you just went about your whatever you're doing. And yeah, I just feel like that's the big thing. And the other thing is, I don't know if you know this, but it's the music. The music was really important for the first game. Like
Mhm.
it do you remember the opening song from 2015?
I don't, to be honest.
Okay, so like I have to tie it back to Supernatural. Partially, I'm rewatching the series right now.
Okay.
Partially because Supernatural and Until Dawn share a folk song called "Oh Death," and it's basically like this song, about it. It's about death, and like how you're trying to prevent it and all this stuff, and it just tied into the theme so well that when you play the reboot or the remake, it's a different song. It's more, I don't know, it's more modern. It just doesn't fit with like the theme of the monster that you're dealing with and
Sure.
what you're facing. It's more just like a I don't, I don't know what kind of it's like the beach kind of sounds like the beach house.
Mm.
I'll send you the song after, but if you compare the two, it's a big thing. The music played a big part of this. It's not as tense the music in some scenarios.
Sure.
It's just like in Resident Evil. Like the original was great. The remake was, you know, mixed up enough where it felt brand new, but this Until Dawn remake has none of that. It's just they tried to do the same, but it ended up like in The Simpsons when Homer's trying to build the barbecue and he drops into the cement
Yep.
and he's just trying to piece everything together before it dries. That's what this game feels like. It feels like a barbecue from Homer Simpson.
Okay. All right. All right. Yeah.
Instead of being
No, go
that's the
ahead.
only
Go
way
ahead.
I can put it. That's the only way I can put it. Like, instead of getting the barbecue you paid for, you're getting a useless piece of art.
I mean, that's I enjoyed a little more than I think you are, which is unfortunate for someone who
I
is a
do
fan
like it.
from the
To be
yeah.
clear, I do like it. I gave it a 7. I left it with a 7.
Yeah.
It's not bad. It's just
No.
not what I feel like I would have wanted from a remake of this game, because the original was so good. It was just so brilliant, and it doesn't do enough to give itself that same level of respect I got for the first game.
No, that
And
I think that's fair. I think that's a fair assessment, especially when we're looking at contemporary remakes and how many games, Resident Evil 4
yeah,
remake, Dead Space remake, so many games do elevate the gameplay experience. They do on top of, the visuals and the controls and stuff like that. So I think that a 7.5, I'd probably go 7.5 myself, but I think that's probably a good assumption is that I don't think that there's anything aside from some frame rate issues and some weird like mouth animations that really detract from the gameplay experience. It just doesn't do a whole lot to elevate what we played back in 2015, aside from some visual improvements.
yeah. I mean, that I think we'll give it to him. Like, overall, it does look better outside of the small things we've complained about. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's available on PS Plus, the original 2015. But if it is, like, play that one. Like, honestly, if it's included in PS Plus, you have no reason not to play it. It's there.
Mm,
It's Halloween. It is a perfect game to play right
it
now.
really is.
Because
And
you can play with your friends. It's not a game you don't have to play by yourself. Like, you can get 3 or 4 people and just pass the controller and
yep.
make a night of it. But yeah, I mean, I hope that whatever Ballistic Moon does next, like I'm down to check it out. I'm definitely excited for them. I feel like they made the best out of a situation, or whatever the situation was.
Yeah.
So
And
yeah,
again, I think kudos to at least attempting to do this because it is a shame that Until Dawn really didn't continue on in any major way aside from some spin-offs
yeah.
and stuff like that. So I am glad that
Well,
more people are at least talking
yeah.
about it. Sorry, what were you
I
gonna
mean,
say?
talking about it, and then I mean, there are rumors that a sequel is being teased, so I feel like Sony wants to build on this as a brand. So I mean,
Yeah,
I know it came and went at one point. Like I did like the VR games, but like if we're getting a proper sequel, I would love to see a new monster. Just keep the same elements. Like I do like the
yeah.
elements of interactive storytelling like this. It is great.
100%. And it's hard. It's even hard to like remove the fact that Until Dawn came out at a time when these kinds of games were kind of the zeitgeist. I mean, you had, um, you know, the Walking Dead, all the Telltale games, and then Quantum Dream was doing their own thing as well with Heavy Rain and stuff like that. But yeah, these kinds of games kind of fell away. I mean, we still get, Life is Strange and stuff like that, but
Yeah,
it's
they're
not
not
the
the same.
same because
I
these ones
feel
put so much like emphasis on the tension and the moment to moment like quick
yeah.
time events. And hey, if you screw up, that character's
Your
out of
character's
here.
done. Yeah, your
Yeah,
character's dead. So like I like the Life is Strange series.
me too.
It's a
Yeah,
lot more. It's a lot more. What's the word I want to go for this? Like it's more contemporary
yeah,
compared to
very
those. Like
much.
I
Yeah,
feel like that's what it is. Like it's not like a B horror movie. Like that's what I want. I want B horror. Like I love camp horror. Like I want a game where I can build your own adventure. Like if I don't like this character, I can just kill them off, or if I want this
right.
character to live, I can do that. And like that, there's few games do offer that these days. So like I'm glad that these games exist. We just need more of them.
Yep.
So yeah, I hope the sequel does come to fruition, and if it does, I want Ballistic Moon to handle the sequel because I feel they have a good ideas. They just had to build them on an existing springboard. So now give them a brand new clear piece of paper and let them just build. Like let them, come up with something really good. So yeah, that's my hope for a sequel.
Yeah, likewise. Because also Supermassive's busy. They're doing their anthology series. And then they also had, Castle of Frank Stone. I believe that's the latest one that they did.
Yeah, Casey and Frank Stone. I actually haven't checked that out yet. It's on my list. I have to check it out
Yeah,
for
yeah, because that's
soon.
the
But
only one
yeah,
I haven't played yet of theirs. And as a fan of the genre and their games, I definitely want to check it out. But it was nice to go back to Until Dawn because again, it just shows how great their storytelling is in terms of horror.
yeah,
Uh, Not spoiling what happens in, but even some of the twists and turns and like moment to moment details in the game, I'm still like, holy hell, like
yeah.
they really set the bar high for these kinds of like horror
And that's the
storytelling.
thing. That's the thing. It's like it's the it's the comparison. Like you have this game, so everything that comes after it, it's like, well, Until Dawn did this, back then.
Yeah,
So like, how do you compare it to that game? Because like I said, when it launched, it was a perfect game to me. Like I was so obsessed with it. It was just so good, and it came at the perfect time. Like it was the end of summer. It was starting to get dark earlier, so you play this game, you can, you get into the mood a lot easier at the time. That's what
for
I
sure.
remember about that game for me. It was just good mood, good timing. Everything was just perfect conditions to make that an excellent game.
Yep,
Yeah.
absolutely. Bobby, was there anything else you wanted to cover this week? Anything else that you're playing?
No, actually, nothing we can talk about. I do have a couple of things that I've been working on.
Yep.
I think those are coming out the next couple of weeks for sure. I know we'll have something next week for one game I'm playing, and then the week after. But outside of that, it's just been just revisiting some old classics. I've been just lots of Call of Duty. We're gearing
Mm,
up for. We're
yep.
literally 2 weeks away from Black Ops 6. So like I'm just playing the Halloween events right now, and
Nice.
they're
Okay.
amazing. They're so good. I love the seasonal stuff for Call of Duty. It's probably some of my favorite stuff that they put out in a long time. But yeah, if
Yeah.
you haven't played that, play that. That's basically it. I mean, other than that, yeah. I mean, couple of trying to chip away at the Trail series. I know I've been saying that for months now. I'm halfway through the second game. I didn't expect how long these games were until I started playing them. So it feels like I've been playing it for 6 months, but it's only been like a month. So there's a lot of text. Basically, like, I think at the time when these games were out, they had the longest scripts of all time. It was like 12,000 pages of dialogue, so that kind of tells you what to expect from these games. So it is a time sink, but it's really good. So I mean, these are very old games, but like they're really well written for what they are. Like they're very adult. So yeah, just working through that, and then that's it. So basically it. I have Balatro on my phone, but I refuse to open it because I know that once I do, everything else is just gonna
It's over for
fall into
you.
place.
Yep.
But yeah,
Yep.
so it's just calling my name. Like I actually see it on my screen right now. But yeah, I figure I'm gonna start that again because I did play it on my Steam Deck, and then it just yeah, I knew what it was doing to you and everyone else. So I was like, nope, I can wait.
It's a sickness.
That's the problem, and I don't have I can't have any more sicknesses in my life. I have already a lot of crutches. Can't have
Yep.
another one.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I guess that about does it for this episode. Yeah, Bobby, you mentioned it. We're gonna have quite a few great reviews coming up in the coming week, and just throughout the month. Really, there's a lot of great stuff
Yeah,
on the horizon that we're going to be able to talk about. But until then, where can people keep up with you online if they wanted
you
to
can
do so?
yeah you can check us on check me wherever you can check concertcreatures.com. You can find me on socials at bpashalides, Blue Sky and Threads. Keep it unlocked there. That's where I'm gonna start moving towards, and I have been
Nice.
finding a lot. Surprisingly, yeah, there's a lot better feedback and positive reinforcement of what we're doing there from the community there. So like yeah, if you don't or if you're not on those, get on them. Like they're the antithesis to what Twitter is now. So we're
That's
there.
right. Yep, we're there. We also have the Discord opened up.
Oh yeah,
We
thank
got
you
the
for reminding
big
me.
Discord. Yeah, I meant to mention it at the top of the show. I totally forgot. I'll put it in the notes for next time. But no, it's up and running. A whole bunch of great positive community members are in there. We're in there talking, gabbing about games and news and just really just trying to maintain a positive place for people to come in and hang out. So if you're interested, you can find it all over our socials. You can even reach out to one of us if you want in. But yeah, definitely check it out because it's a really cool spot to be right now. If you want to be a cool kid, get in the
Yeah,
Discord.
in the Discord and ignore Dave. That's all I can say.
You know what? You got to let the old man kind of shout from the lawn.
He's
That's it.
got dad jokes, or he's moved into like he's morphing into like
He
a dad
he's
joke.
he's he's so court coded right now. He's
I
he's
know.
court brained. We
Yeah, I
lost
don't
another
know.
one.
They're just dropping like flies. Like I
And
don't
then it's
know.
gonna be Matt, and then it's just
Well,
gonna be
no,
you and me
Matt's like fighting it. Like Matt is still Matt. He's not court
for
changed
now. For
for now.
now.
For now, but yeah, they're all dads now, and it's just like, guys, we know you're dads. We know, we got you. We love you. But the dad jokes, you gotta leave them at the door.
You gotta leave him at the door.
That's where I
Exactly.
draw the line. Is dad jokes. Is
Yeah.
no dad jokes.
Yeah. Yeah. And then as for me, you can find me across the internet at svigvari. But yeah, we really appreciate you taking the time to listen to this, and we'll be back next week with a brand new episode. But until then, we'll see you. Bye.
Bye bye.